racing in its purest form. Real cars on real roads, real fast. It's a flat-out race against the clock. The Canadian Rally Championship on TSN. And from our last event in Calgary, the championship now moves east to the Maritimes. Between New Brunswick and Quebec's Gaspé Peninsula is Chaleurs Baie, and on the north shore is the Quebec town of New Richmond, home of round 4 in the Canadian Rally Championship on TSN, the Michelin Baie de Chaleurs Rally. And today's rally is brought to you by Michelin, because so much is riding on your tires. Hello again, everyone. Vic Router along with our rally expert, Paul Chater. And Paul, this will be the 17th annual Baie de Chaleurs Rally, and it always attracts a very strong field.
35 cars will roll over the starting ramp at the new Richmond City Hall, led by the awesome Ford Escort supercar of Carl Merrill. Starting number 2 is Canada's own supercar, the Audi S2 Quattro of Frank and Dan Sprongel from Georgetown, Ontario. Number 3, another former Canadian champion, Tim Bendel from Calgary, driving with Art McKenzie in their outrageously modified Pontiac Fiero. He led this rally last year but failed to finish. The car is so wide, it just barely fits on the ramp.
The Eagle Talon of Baie and Sandra Latreille from Cornwall, Ontario carries the number 4. Right behind them will be the Michelin Mazda 323 GTX of another couple, Sylvain Vincent and Dominique Cyr from La Plaque, Quebec.
Here's a team we haven't seen before on TSN, but he's leading the GT Championship in the United States. Selçuk Karamanoglu, the former Turkish rally champion, now lives in Maine and will be driving a Mitsubishi Eclipse Turbo.
So we're all set. Let's get right to the action. The first special stage just out of town, 4.56 kilometers in length. It is a fast roller. It's called La Ligne Cochrane, and we're riding with Carl Merrill and co-driver J. John Wickens. Yes, this is the 400 horsepower, 7-speed Ford Escort Cosworth. Hang on, Paul.
These cars are so loud that the teams use an intercom to communicate. John Wickens hasn't realized it yet, but his intercom isn't working.
Oh my, look at this. Hold on. Turn, hold it.
Down goes the fence post. You see the problem, the intercom wasn't working. He was yelling right turn. He was giving the driver a lot of lead time coming up to that corner, but he couldn't hear him.
Yeah, did you see though, he also took out one of his headlights, the shattering of the headlight glass there.
Doesn't seem to have slowed him down much, though.
No, the thing I worried about though, right there, that post was the people, because I'm sure they thought he was going to turn.
Carl Merrill was up in 7th gear on this stage. If he managed to pull maximum revs, that translates to a top speed, are you ready for this, of 240 kilometers an hour on dirt, on a road he's never seen before.
Unbelievable. You know, despite crashing into that fence post and having to restart, Carl Merrill still managed to win that first stage by 1 second.
You never heard a word I said, right?
Nope, not a word. Great start.
Well, Paul, exactly as you thought, their intercom had broken, and so, yes, they did have a communications problem. Now, this is Sprongel and Sprongel, Frank and Dan from Georgetown, Ontario.
And they've got the car that can really challenge the Escort. A 4-wheel drive Audi S2. The car is blindingly quick and it's very stable. In fact, they won the first event in '94, the Michelin Quebec Beauport Rally. They've missed the 2 Western rallies, and they're behind in the point standings now, behind Tom McGear, who's not here this weekend. He is honeymooning in Hong Kong.
Now, you talk about this car being a little more stable than the Escort. Does it just have to do with wheelbase length?
Basically, Vic, the car is a bit longer, and it's much more stable at high speeds on long, straight sections. Watch as he goes through this corner now, where Wickens went off, by the way. And the car's very flat, very stable. It's not hunting back and forth across the gravel. It's not floating as it would, as a car would aquaplane in the water, for example. It's very solid. You can see him through the twisty parts now, where the Escort has an advantage because it's a little shorter. The driver can throw the car around a lot more.
Now Now we ride along with the Bendel Mackenzie Fiero. This is Tim Bendel, Art McKenzie from Calgary, Alberta.
They have a distinct disadvantage here. They're two-wheel drive, rear-wheel drive car, rear-engine car, and it slides around a good deal more. It's going to be a handful on roads like this.
Well, you can just see from the action in the steering wheel how he was sawing it back and forth. And look at it here as it fishtails through this S.
The car's got a lot of power, but he's got to be very alert. As we were inside the car watching him, you could see he wasn't blinking. His eyes were riveted out that windshield.
Now he finished in 5th place, 7 seconds off the pace. As we take a look now at Vincent and Cyr, this is the Mazda 323 GTX.
Here are Baie and Sandra Latreille. They're driving a four-wheel drive Eagle Talent in the production GT class. Their main competition is an almost identical Mitsubishi Eclipse, driven by the Turkish driver Karamanoglu. And here he comes now over the crest of the hill.
And the fact that these are production GTs, little or no modification.
Very little. It's basically the car you would get out of the showroom. Of course, there's a full roll cage inside it. There's a skid pan underneath to protect the oil sump from all the rocks that are flying up. But this basically is a street-legal, normal car right out of the showroom. A little farther back in the pack, we have a battle between two Suzuki Swifts. Guillet is driving this one. He's an accomplished road racing driver in his first rally, however, and he's being caught by Jean-Philippe Chevalier. The cars start 1 minute apart, so we can see how much time Chevalier has already made up. After a quick pit stop, the Ford's lights and the intercom are fixed, and after one stage, the leader is Carl Merrill.
Yeah, brain failure and I missed the turn. So he just went straight off into the post and lost 15 seconds. Got back at it. So fantastic roads. Unbelievable. That last stage, 7th gear, flat on the floor. Just kept right on going. Unbelievable.
Is the car okay?
Excellent. No problem.
It's remarkable to think that he lost 15 seconds, still won the stage by 1 over the car of the Sprongles, with Karamanoglu and MacArthur 4 seconds back. The Canadian Rally Championship, catch it here on TSN. Welcome back to the Michelin Baie de Chaleurs Rally as we continue with our first leg. And as evening approaches, Paul, the service crews start to prepare the cars for the night ahead. And already some cars are starting to show the battle scars of a rally such as this. Sometimes, you know, though, we take these service crews for granted. How important are they?
Absolutely critical. I mean, you can see the punishment the cars take on a stage. They have to be fixed on these transit stages, and these aren't like Formula One pit crews. These guys don't have every power tool possible known to man available. They have to improvise in a lot of cases. They are an integral part of these teams.
Now this rally absolutely unique to North America. Fast roads, big jumps, the biggest, most enthusiastic crowd of spectators this side of Helsinki. They love the big, powerful Ford, the Audi, the Pontiac, but they save their biggest cheers for the local Quebec teams. These fans, they know they're rallying. And even if it is raining in the middle of the woods with mud and mosquitoes, the people, oh, they absolutely have a ball.
Sébastien Cyr et Craig Henderson sur Toyota Corolla. Et Mike Robertson. Paul, it must be an absolute thrill for the drivers to look at all those people out
at night. Congratulations to everyone who attended the Baie de Chaleurs. Now, after working his way to second place, disaster strikes the Fiero on that final Friday night stage. Coming off a jump just after the start of the stage, the clutch cable jammed under the engine, cut all power to the wheels. So Tim Bendel, Art McKenzie, they lost 10 minutes. They had to jack up the engine, free the clutch, attempted to restart in 12th place, but out of contention.
Of the 35 starters, 13 crews were eliminated by the end of the first night. Some crashed, some broke, and some were desperately trying to patch up the damage just to keep running. Despite limping into service and trying to fix the rear end, the rally was over for the Sprongel brothers.
First, we broke in rear drive shaft. We got that fixed, started going again. Now I broke the transmission on the last jump. So unfortunately, that's it. Baie de Chaleurs defeated us once again, and hopefully next year we're going to show who the boss is. That's it for this year.
So here is your leaderboard after day 1 and 10 stages. Merrill and Wickens in that escort. Sprongels, they're out, and so everyone moves up. What a battle. Nighttime at the Baie de Chaleurs. Welcome back to the Michelin Baie de Chaleurs Rally. Covered bridges dot the area, of course. Vic Rauter along with Paul Chater. The special stage is called the Point Taylor. The driver, Carl Merrill. The co-driver, J. John Wickens. The conditions, they are wet.
And on roads like this, when they're wet, it's just like driving on ice and snow and through these puddles. Look, you can't see where he's going. The co-driver actually has to switch for the windshield wipers. The driver's far too busy to worry about those kinds of things.
Now, if you've been with us before, you notice that the co-driver, J. John Wickens, actually sits back a little bit. He's not absolutely parallel with his driver.
Well, the car's so tight, they need extra elbow room for the driver. And we can see out the front windshield that all this water and the conditions is starting to steam it up. He can't see where he's going.
Watch out.
A hard left to where?
Yeah. Now, if the co-driver has the button for the windshield, does he also have the defroster button? As we look back now, this is the Fiero. Tim Bendel, 12th placed after last night's problems. Remember, he got that clutch cable stuck.
Poor Tim Bendel, he just can't find any good luck at all. Look at this, up and over off the road into a field. He's well off the road, looking out the passenger side window to try to find a way back. He's driving at rather quick speeds through a field here, runs up against a fence and a tree. He's trying to find a gear. He can't. His rally's over.
The Mitsubishi Eclipse of Caramana glue, and he's starting to make a move, Paul, as he sort of plows his way through a puddle. He was trailing the Trey by 43, but now is cut 9 seconds off that.
And the Mazda here, Vincent Cyr in 4th, just 22 seconds behind Caramana glue.
This is the Eagle Talon of the Latrays, Barry and Sandra, who can pull within 3 points of championship leader Tom McGeer if they can hang on to second or take the lead if they win this Baie de Chaleurs rally.
Bob Elliott, Mark Williams, comfortable 3-minute lead in the production sports class.
It's man and machine against Mother Nature here at the Baie de Chaleurs. Paul, it's no surprise with his main competition now out of the rally. The American team of Merrill and Wickens continue to pull away from the rest of the field in that wild Ford Escort. This is the 14th special stage, a 12.7 kilometer run along straightaways and blind crests. And even in the pouring rain, the fans are out watching. They are remarkable. And the best battle, as it has been since the start, between the Eagle Talon of the Latrays and the Mitsubishi, driven by Selchuk Karamanoglu.
Let's watch now from inside the Latrays car. Look at how quiet his hands are on the wheel, despite the speed that he's traveling on this very narrow, very bumpy road. He's not hanging on really tight. The car's very stable over each of these almost jumps. Even braking, four-wheel drive pulls him straight through that corner without too much drama.
I tell you what, though, the car's still got an awful lot of roll.
Softly sprung to be able to handle all of these bad bumps, but tight enough that the car's still not going to get away from him when they hit a big bump.
You can hear Sandra barking out right, left, as we now look at the eclipse of Karamanoglu.
Now watch him through the same set of turns here. Not sliding the car around at all. In fact, he's got a lot of understeer, meaning the car is plowing off to the edge of the turn. That's actually slowing him down. Lower right corner, that's his time on this stage. Coming up to the finish control, there it is, 7:29.5, second place behind the Escort. Now, let's watch the time of Karamanoglu as he's coming to the end of this stage as well in a tight battle with the Latrays. There's the Latrays time, 7:29.5, and in third place, but 4 seconds back. Karamanoglu just lost 4 seconds in his fight with Baie Latray.
So, Paul, just 2 stages left. Baie Latray hangs on to second place overall, first in production GT, and by 4 seconds. Now, some teams, hey, look at this. They're just trying to keep going.
We hit 4 times really hard, so I'm not sure if it was 2 rolls in front and back kind of thing, but we just kept rolling out into that field, and I was like, please stop, please stop. And then some great spectators came over. They picked up all the parts of the car, put them in the back end, and then we went out and we were back on the road and we were back in it. And after 4 stages of driving with a smashed windshield, they pulled us out and said that we couldn't run anymore. But we went, a nice Volkswagen dealer in town here, went and got us a windshield, and we tied it in, and we were going to do the last 2 stages, and then we started losing oil, and the car took quite a beating, you know, so that was the end of my first rally, but I loved it. I had a great time.
Well, hopefully it can only get better for Jill Maynard. Now, if you'd like to get involved in rallying, think it's for you, you can call, fax, or write the Canadian Association of Rally Sport. We admit it's not for everybody. Maybe it is for you. Welcome back to the Michelin Baie Rally. Just 2 stages left, Paul. This is a 22K stage, so it's very long. It's called La Vraie Pré, and it's down a dead-end road.
They'll collect them all at one end, turn them around, send them back down the road at 1-minute intervals. Now we can see inside Merrill's car here, he's won all but 1 stage so far in this event, and not surprisingly, it was the 1 stage when the windshield fogged up and he couldn't see. It's starting all over again. Now they've got vents in the roof, which they're both trying to open to get some circulation inside to prevent that windshield from fogging.
And exactly, it's clearing up quite nicely. Now, we see all the ruts of water. With these 4-wheel drive cars, is aquaplaning less of a problem with 4-wheel drive?
Well, it is less of a problem, but the real issue here is the muck on the road. The water and the mud together, it's like driving on ice.
The Latrays in their Eagle Talon, Baie and Sandra, starting with a 4-second lead over Karamanoglu.
Now, we can see how bad this road really is. Fortunately, they're all running on special rally tires. These aren't the normal kinds of tires you would get on a stock car out of the showroom. And some drivers kid that on roads like this, they've got a tread pattern that allow the car to climb a tree.
Now, what is Sandra punching into the computer on the right?
Okay, she's looking at her route book, and throughout the stage there are warnings and there are instructions about some treacherous conditions, for example, or just where some of the major turns are. The computer's actually split in 2. The top part has a total running time and distance for that stage. The bottom part, she is putting it back to 0 every time she gets to an instruction, because the wheels in this car are spinning constantly through all this muck. And while they're doing that, it's actually putting the total time and distance out of whack. So what what she's doing is readjusting it every time they get to an instruction in her route book.
Remarkable how busy both the driver and the co-driver are in rallying. This is Karamanoglu, and without a doubt, he is going to have to put the foot to the floor because remember, he's starting the stage 4 seconds back of the Latrays.
Now, throughout the event, the Latrays have been a little faster in the long, fast sections, the straight line speed. Karamanoglu seems to be a little quicker in the tight, twisty stuff. Now, here are the Latrays through some of the tightest parts on this rally and through just abominable conditions.
Right along now again with the Latrays, and Barrie, hold on as he gets it sideways and fishtails it. Now the Latrays, this is Karamanoglu.
Let's watch and see how he does. Barrie barely hung on to that car in that section.
Always suggested that Karamanoglu would have to drive the stage of his life, and he did. He won the stage by 29 seconds over the Latrays, and now has moved into second place with 1 stage left.
And the leaders can't ignore this car. The Mazda GTX is Sylvain Vincent, just over a minute behind in horrible conditions, but his less powerful car is actually quite suited to this, and he's matching their times on these later stages.
We started this stage standing in second place overall, 4 seconds ahead of Solchek, but apparently we dropped 20-some seconds to him on the way in.
This was a very curvy road, not as straight, and I think I'm better at that kind of roads. That's the roads I always raced before, so that gave me the edge. And it's the same road the way down, but I don't have to push it that much this time.
Interesting that Karamanoglu thinks that he's better on the twisty parts of the rally. Final stage, look at this. This is the escort of Merrill and giving the spectators at Camp Brûlé quite a show.
He's having fun, even though he knows he's won this rally. But, you know, a rally driver just can't back off no matter what.
This is the second place car. Karamanoglu leading by 25 seconds over the Latrays. Said he'd take it easy coming back, but it doesn't look like it.
Inside with Barrie and Sandra Latray. Sandra actually gave a wrong instruction during this stage. She said to turn left instead of turn right. They made a mistake, went off the road a little, lost 20 seconds. It doesn't really matter. Karamanoglu had beaten them anyway.
Sylvain Vincent and Dominique Cyr continue their trouble-free run in their Mazda. You know, only 10 of 35 starters made it to the finish line. They finished 4th.
Bob Elliott and Mark Williams from Vermont and Maryland, respectively, finished 5th overall in their VW Golf GTI.
Walter Peterson, Harry Pressey of Calgary, they finish in 6th. And just a reminder, never drive with your rally car, the windows open. This is what happens.
8th to Malcolm Swan of Charlottetown and Clark Painter from Dartmouth, Nova Scotia.
And Tony Lee from Indiana, navigator. Greg James from Ontario kept their ancient Datsun 510 on the road to finish 10th.
Carl Merrill clocks into the final checkpoint. Let's give him full credit. He drove brilliantly, winning 15 of the 18 stages and thoroughly deserving this victory.
It was wicked slippery going in and out on those last 2 stages. Really exciting, though. I mean, it was a good rally. I mean, it was fast, competition was good, and really enjoyed it.
It really was an exciting Baie de Chaleurs rally as Merrill and Wickens win it. Remember now, though, the Sprongles and Tim Bendel and his Fiero, they went out very early and made it a little bit easier, I think, for that Ford Escort of Carl Merrill and John Wickens as we run down our top 10, 4th rally of the year, and we are 4th different winner.
Selchuk Karamanoglu, John MacArthur win production GT class in their Mitsubishi Eclipse.
Bob Elliott, Mark Williams win production sport, 5th overall, top 2-wheel drive car.
Jean-Philippe Chevalier and Shirley Normandin from San Bruno dominated production 1750 in their Suzuki Swift. No other 1750 car survived.
So the 4th rally of this year's championship is now in the books, and here is how the championship standings look. Tom McGeer, Trish Sparrow still in 1st place and missing this event, celebrating their wedding. We wish them the very best. 3-point lead over the Latrays. You'll notice that Sprongle, Bendel, Merrill, all with 20 points, all from their individual wins in this year's championship. The Baie de Chaleurs Rally has been brought to you by Michelin because so much is riding on your tires. It has been an exciting event, Now on behalf of Paul Chater and our entire crew, I'm Vic Router. Thanks for joining us